Chapter 15. There were 2 letters the next day, one from Poppy and one from Margaret. Lily managed to pick them up from the mailman before he even hit Cross Bay Boulevard. She'd been waiting on the corner for more than an hour, watching the street as far down as she could see, wondering if Margaret had gotten the letter she had sent. She had told her about Albert and the cat he was calling Paprika. Lily yawned, tired from last night. Even after she had tiptoed through the dark kitchen at 2 or 3 in the morning and slipped under the red quilt again, she hadn't been able to sleep. She had tossed from one side to the other, thinking about the troop ship and Poppy and what she could possibly do about the lies she had told Albert. Now she took the letters and went straight to Margaret's house, past the bedroom where Paprika slept now, a small orange circle on Eddie's pillow. She climbed the attic stairs and shoved up the window as high as it could go, then took a quick look at the beach. It was still empty at this hour of the morning. Litter baskets clean, the sand smooth and even. She had time, plenty of time. She wanted to stretch out this moment with 2 letters to read. It would be like sucking on a red lifesaver until it melted into a thin circle. She looked at them both. Margaret's as filthy as the first letter she had sent, but this time it was in ink that was blotted and watery as if drops had been splattered on it. Her father's letter was much neater, much cleaner, and his beautiful, clear writing said, Miss Elizabeth Mary Mollahan. Lily slid her fingernail under the flap and slid out the tissue paper letter. Lily, it began, my dearest daughter. She closed her eyes and held the letter her father had held in his own hands just a few days ago. She read the rest of it quickly, so fast the words ran together. He never mentioned that she hadn't said goodbye. He never said that he minded or didn't mind, only about the war being over and everything the same again. I have a picture of you in my head as clear as a photograph to take with me overseas. You're in the boat and frowning, staring at a skate fish just before you set him free. By the time you read this, Lily Billy, I'll be on my way across the ocean. The faster there, the faster home. She thought her heart would stop. Her father out there crossing the Atlantic, part of a convoy, maybe even on a troop ship she and Albert had seen last night. She couldn't even think about it. She looked at the end of the letter. Hug the waves for me and the beach on 101st Street, and then at the very bottom, hug Graham too. She loves you, Lily, more than you know. Lily wiped her eyes. It was a good thing she had Margaret's letter to think about next and not having to give Graham a hug. She looked back at Poppy's letter. At the very bottom he had written, Don't forget to finish these books, Madeline, and A Tale of Two Cities, and especially The Three Musketeers. Lily frowned. Strange that Poppy had written that. He had read Madeline to her 100 years ago when she was 6. How could he have forgotten? And he didn't know that she was reading The Three Musketeers. She'd just taken it from the library on Thursday. She put her father's letter down carefully near the chimney and opened Margaret's. It started out in the strangest way. No opening the way Sister Eileen had taught Lily in school. No, dear Lily, just, please go in my living room and get Eddie's picture. Send it right away, even if you have to ask your grandmother for the money. Tell her I'll pay her back when the war is over. I can't remember what Eddie looks like, and now he is missing in action. Isn't it strange on a beach? It was on D-Day. The telegram didn't come until this morning. He never even got any of the candy. Margaret. Lily sat there for another minute. Then she went down the stairs feeling so dizzy it seemed her feet didn't even touch the steps. She went into the Dillons' living room and reached for Eddie's picture. Her hands were shaking, and she knocked it off the table, grabbing it before it hit the floor. Nice catch, Lily, Eddie would say. Then she was out the door and down the street. She couldn't wait to find Graham to tell her this awful thing that had happened to Eddie Dillon, to ask for wrapping paper and stamps for the picture. She went down the road and in the back door, but before she could begin, Graham had started. Change your clothes, Lily, and get your hat, she said. Mrs. Colgan told me that Eddie Dillon is missing, and... How does she know? Lily asked. Graham put her hand up to her mouth. A phone call all the way from Willow Run to Mrs. Tannenbaum's candy store. We're on our way to church, a special mass, and we're going to pray as hard. She took a breath. We're all praying, I guess, the whole world, that this will be over soon. She blinked back tears. And right now we're going to pray for Eddie and your father and Albert's family and everyone who... She broke off. Lily put Eddie's picture on the table next to the couch and went onto the porch to find her Sunday clothes, even though it wasn't Sunday. Just 10 minutes later, she was walking into church, stopping for a quick dip of holy water and sliding into a pew next to Graham. As she knelt there and waited for Father Murphy to begin, the sun blasted in around the partly open stained glass windows. It felt as if it must have been 100 degrees. The fan in front didn't do any good. It just moved the fringe a little on the banner that hung over their heads. Father Murphy had hung the banner there himself. On its white background were rows of blue stars, one for each of the men from the parish who were in the service. There was one gold star in the middle. That was for a sailor who used to live near the Cross Bay Theater. He had died in battle. And now in a day or two, there'd be a silver star for Eddie, who was missing, lost somewhere on a beach in France, and no one knew if they'd ever find him. Lily tried to imagine what it must feel like to be Eddie, to have been taken prisoner by the Germans maybe, or just somewhere by himself hurt. It was a desert in that church. She lifted the brim of her straw hat away from her head and fanned the air with her hymn book, watching Mrs. Orban come up the aisle with Albert until Graham gave her a poke. In a moment, Father Murphy was out to the altar beginning the Mass, and Lily began to pray for Eddie and then for Poppy. She prayed for Albert's sister too, and his grandmother. Next to her, Graham took her silver rosary beads out of their case, and on the other side, Mrs. Colgan opened her missal. Lily leaned back against the pew, thinking how thirsty she was. She was dying for a glass of orange soda, or maybe a peach with juice dripping. If Mass didn't end soon and she didn't get something to drink, Graham was looking at her frowning, so she started to pray again. She prayed for everyone she could think of, even Sister Eileen. She looked at the stained glass window. Outside everything was red or orange or yellow, and inside were the sounds of the fan whirring and feet shuffling. Maybe they'll find Eddie. Maybe he had just gotten mixed up and had to find his way back, or maybe they had made a mistake and some other Eddie was lost. She sat up straight. She had just thought of something. Eddie's picture. She left it on the table next to the couch in the living room. How was she going to explain to Graham where she had gotten it? What would Graham say if she knew Lily had been in and out of the Dillons' empty house? Graham would say plenty. Lily'd be in trouble for the rest of the summer. And she'd never get back into Margaret's house until the end of the war. She tried to figure out what to do. She could feel her heart pounding at the thought of Graham reaching for that picture when they got home. She wondered if Graham had seen her put it down. Graham always saw everything she didn't want her to. But if she hadn't, if Lily could get to the living room first, she'd grab up the picture and then what? She didn't have a cent since that tan purse had sunk in the water. How was she going to send it? And right now, kneelers were banging back and people were standing. Mrs. White was playing the organ and everyone was singing, Holy God, we praise thy name. Lily edged herself out of the pew almost before they finished singing. See you, she whispered to Graham, and before Graham could answer, Lily had ducked ahead of Mrs. Colgan and the other people going down the aisle. She took another quick dip of holy water and raced for home.